When you look at a child, and a child, the way that he perceives reality is that if a child can see you, then he feels that you can see him. It's a back and forth type of a relationship. Now, if you ever play with a child hide and seek, you realize that when a child hides, it only really hides its eyes, because everything else, it feels that if he can't see you, then you can't see him. And I played with my son, hide and seek, and his head is showing and his feet is showing, and I'm able to see him, but he thinks that I can't see him. This is good for a child. But as you get older in life, if this reality, if this perception still stays with you, that's deficient. There's something wrong. If you feel, and this is how we feel as children, I can't see God, so God can't see me. That's a very, very deficient type of perception to have. We have these stories with the Vilna Gaon. We have the stories with the Chafetz Chaim. They were traveling on a carriage, or traveling, and all of a sudden, the one in charge of the carriage goes and stops and says, "Hey, listen, take a look out. I'm going to take some fruits from something that doesn't belong to me." And he starts taking fruits, taking apples from a tree. And all of a sudden, the Chafetz Chaim and the Vilna Gaon says, "Hey, he's watching, he's watching, he's watching." They start screaming, "He's watching." And the guy runs back into his wagon, and he starts hitting the horses, and they start running away. And he's turning back, and he sees, no one's watching. What are you talking about? No one's watching. And the Chafetz Chaim and the Vilna Gaon, both stories go and says, yeah, but he's watching. God is watching. How often do we feel like, no, okay, fine. People are not watching us. But how often do we feel like God is watching over us? Think of, the Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, when he was on his deathbed, he gave a blessing to his students. He says, may the fear of heaven be on you as the fear of flesh and blood. Think about that for a second. The fear of heaven be as fear of flesh and blood. How can we fear the flesh and blood? That's a blessing? Think about this concept. Think about a camera walking around with you the entire day. How different would you act? How different would you behave? Now, I know that's a very, very far concept that you have that a camera that is being broadcasted online to millions of people, how much that's going to take an effect. But think about it one step further. And this is the exercise that I ask of you today. Look at yourself as if a camera is watching you when you're doing something right. When you're learning Torah, when you're praying. Imagine how different you're going to be if you realize that there's a camera in your face, video recording every single thing that you do. Imagine how different you're going to pray, how different you're going to learn Torah.